Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It's January 16th, 2015, and this is the Wolf Den Radio Show, featuring your host, Wolf King, Caswell Almighty, Xbox Fiend, and our newest edition, Hades, Son of Kronos. However, they couldn't be here at the moment. Instead, we have the anti-theist Eve Real, a particular favorite chocolate rainbow, and my marijuana expert Jello Shots. All right, so we're gonna get into the stories right now. Just address the issues of the day using rationality and empiricism to enlighten us all. Let's see, what do we have first? What's most fun? Hold on 1 second. Oh, I think this is going to be the most fun. Hey, Chaz, remember the Brian Fisher thing I did last week?
Which one was that one? To refresh my memory.
Just to compare and contrast one where he did the Charlie Hebdo thing about how you don't take the Lord's name in vain, otherwise you will be smited or something.
Yeah, that plebeian. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this week he has a particular interesting note on it. Well, let me just pull up. All right, here's the link. Apparently, he has a new outlook on the Charlie Hebdo incident. Let's all hear.
The interesting thing here is that it is impossible. This is for those of us who are students of Scripture. Again, that's where I'm directing my thoughts now. To those of us that are students of Scripture, from a biblical standpoint, it is impossible to blaspheme Muhammad. You cannot do it. Why? Because you can only blaspheme the true and living God, and Muhammad does not represent the true and living God. So whatever you would say about Muhammad, and please don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying let's tee off on Muhammad, that's not my point. I'm just saying whatever you would say about Muhammad, it could be offensive, it could be offensive to Muslims, but it cannot possibly, from a biblical standpoint, represent blasphemy. Because blasphemy is something that you can only commit against the true and living God. And we know from a biblical standpoint that Allah represents a demon god according to the Scriptures.
Okay, so that was Brian Fisher apparently giving his current view now about the Charlie Hebdo case, and that he thinks that it's impossible. Well, from a biblical standpoint, it is impossible to blaspheme Muhammad because he doesn't represent the Abrahamic God properly, and that Allah is a demon god. Okay, first off, well, you can just hold on. I just gotta give my view first. First of all, it's completely insane how he's so quick to change up his viewpoint, because last week it would seem that he was a sympathizer for Islamic fundamentalists, in that because those faiths have the same Abrahamic heritage. To blaspheme God means to kind of be an act of holy war or something along those lines. Now it's all Allah is a demon god. It's like, what the fuck is a demon god? So a demon can be a god now? I mean, aside from the nonsense and the ridiculous rhetoric of this, it really just demonstrates a divide. Just something that demonstrates like separation of people based on these views, and it's really tribalistic and nonsensical, because it doesn't help find a solution to this. But Chaz, can you give your view?
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd like to point out is he was trying to judge, whether or not something is blasphemy in Islam by using the Christian Bible, which is just utterly nonsense. Well, this book that came out a few hundred years earlier to Muhammad mentions no such thing about him. Well, of course not. They're separate things. But here's the thing. I mean, this isn't about what's true or not in Islam. I mean, the problem is people keep on equating this over to things about Islam. In Islam, there is stuff about not drawing the Prophet, yeah, but it's more about not worshipping Muhammad as God, and then that's the problem. These people are then going along and sort of worshipping Muhammad as if he is God, or replacing the worship of God with the worship of Muhammad. It's like worshipping Jesus and not really worshipping God. It's kind of like the same thing there. And so, I mean, this has nothing to do with religion. Yes, religion is involved in it, but this is more about other factors going on in places like Europe and America. I mean, in the West, to do, and then it's being conflated with these religious topics by people who are trying to push their agenda onto people. I mean, that's what these people are doing. I mean, when these people are being radicalized in the West, they're not saying, well, look, let's have a look at what the scripture says. These people are going, look how much these white people hate you. The Christians hate your God. The Christians deny Muhammad as the prophet, and all of this other stuff, which is why, you know, these people are being very, very easily radicalized into hating the West. It is just simple as that. That's what's actually going on. They're just going through and trying to use these things against each other. And then because we spend so much time talking about the religiousness of it, we miss the whole problem entirely. It's like talking about, oh, well, most of this type of crime is committed by black people. Yeah, I doubt they're doing it because the color of their skin. It might actually have something to do with, you know, socio-economic and political factors going on that mainly affect those people that are causing this situation. And it's just bullshit. It's just nonsense. This has nothing to do with a bunch of Islamic people shot a bunch of cartoonists. This is a bunch of fuckwits shot some cartoonists. It's not about blasphemy. It's not about Muhammad. And if we keep focusing on that, we're going to miss the real problem. And unfortunately, these Christians don't help, because they're too busy banging on about their religious beliefs. I'm done.
It's full on LARP mode, isn't it? You know, it's a demon god. It's what the hell is that? I mean,
do you think he means demigod?
Maybe
that's what Jesus would
I don't fucking know what he means, but it's
all right, I'm back. What's up?
It's a war of angels and demons that are going on in this man's head. That's, you know, he's fully in a realm of make-believe.
Well, I kind of disagree with Chaz's view. I think it has everything to do with a person's belief, and I think that came from even the extremist, their own mouth. So I don't understand how people are not seeing that. I think there's kind of a political correctness going on, where Islamic people are kind of the underdog in the Western society. So a lot of liberals, and I am a liberal, wants to take this stance that they want to defend the Islamic people and suggest that it's not the religion. And to me, I have to call bullshit on that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, I remember the person. I remember the person who was that guy Kyle Kalinske on Secular Talk. He actually said this when that debate between Bill Maher and Sam Harris and Ben Affleck actually came about. Liberals are too soft on Muslims, but atheists are too hard on them. In that, just within that regard, and it's really a matter of like balancing the two. With regard to this criticism, but the whole Brian Fisher thing, it demonstrates that the whole, when it comes to religious view, it's more wishy-washy when it comes to actually holding position. But that being said, we're actually moving on. Okay, we're gonna focus on this next thing. Glenn Beck. Okay, he gives his view on the Charlie Hebdo case, and it's it's kind of reminiscent to the usual demagoguery, but let's just hear it.
I told you last year, I kept hearing, and so it begins. Let me take this down to a more base level. I believe the Charlie Hebdo incident is more of this. When I say and so it begins, what I meant was, oh my gosh, here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. It's starting. Look at this piece is going to grow, and that piece is going to grow. What happened in France, if you are standing at a starting line, and you're going to be in a race, you will always hear, ready, set, bang. I believe that last year was the ready. I believe the Charlie Hebdo was the set, and I think the go is coming, and it's coming soon. And if you believe that you can stand around and just not be plugged into what the world is doing, and pay attention to what's going on, and be disconnected from your faith and your principles, when that starting gun fires, and it's going to fire soon, it's going to be too late. I warn you, and I beg you with everything in me to hear me. Please hear me. The world is on the precipice of fascism, communism, anarchy, and theological nightmares.
Okay, so that was Glenn Beck apparently giving his prophetic warning that the Charlie Hebdo incident is just the beginning, and this is just one in a set of a series of of a potential backlash that could send our world to on the road of ruin. And this is typically that of talking points of people that that like to fearmonger, as a way of just like controlling the masses with fear, potentially. And it doesn't notice that he didn't give any actual positive solution to resolve the incident that's actually taking place, because the aftermath of what actually occurred is not just the 12 dead as a result of the Charlie Hebdo incident, but also the fact that moderate
13.
Muslims are actually being attacked. 13 actually, but actually that there are moderate Muslims that have been attacked in France, as a result of this, and
Britain,
and Britain as well.
Attacks on mosques and bricks and stuff thrown at mosques. Because don't forget, we got stupid fuckwits here, like people like the Edie Allen Britain's First, who just love wanking about with this sort of stuff.
Yeah, right, and it's not only that. I mean, it's sort of similar like whenever preachers like to look at their Bible and say, oh, like the world's gonna end this year or the world's gonna end that year. I've read it and it's prophesied there's gonna be wars, rumors of wars and stuff like this. And it's interesting because usually it's only when times of usually of of economic despair or something like this, that these people start to actually try to congregate people, get them together and actually speak this stuff to try and look at them as like the as like a prophet of some sort, and really it provides no real solution for peace or advancement within
I
society.
think it causes.
Hold on. It really is negative, and it ultimately demonstrates the folly of of faith in that so you don't care about this world and making it better for future generations. It's a matter of let's not use reason to try and make society better. Let's not try to apply the best ideas that we have to make it better. Let's focus on getting out of here because it's just going to be worse. Let's focus on breaking away from it, and that's not the way society actually functions to get better. People actually have to do it, but through human effort. But what you have to say?
I was just gonna say, it seems that these Christians, what they're doing is making things even worse, because there's no, to me, I disagree with Chaz a while ago, but I do think that there are Christians who are going to try to use this to promote their own agenda, as you said, Wolf, where they're trying to say this is the end times and things like that, and you basically kind of have this metaphoric holy war going on, and what he's doing by promoting fear is ridiculous, because the reason he wants to promote fear is because more than likely he's going to want to promote violence, and that's not the way that these things should be handled, in my opinion.
Well, I don't think he wants to promote violence. I think Glenn Beck's point is just promoting himself. You start playing with people's emotions, you can really get a response out of them. And I think this is the thing he's trying to, without actually properly informing people what's going on, just telling him there's a bad situation and that they should be afraid. And then he tries to capitalize on that fear by, well, thank God I've got Glenn Beck there to tell me, what to and not to be afraid of. And, that's how modern day news works. I mean, I remember the days back when news programs and current affairs was more about talking about what happened, So, like, bombs went off in Darfur as clashes between these two groups of people happened, and there have been people fleeing the district because of the war, and just putting down the facts of what's going on. But now it's like a TV series. You've got your good guy, you've got your bad guy, and it's not about the facts, it's about opinions of the facts. That's the way the news has changed, because that's what draws in the bigger audience. The news can't compete with 24 unless it starts actually making the news seem like it's 24.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that it's that complex. It's that Glenn Beck. I mean, this is his shtick. I mean, he's not that well informed about the issues. He kind of goes off his own and does his own thing. With regard to like conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And it's usually something bad happens. I told you that this bad thing is going to happen. You guys have to get your children and family together because doom is on the way. And it's he's galvanizing. He's trying to galvanize the older generation, and also trying to bring in others with these just foreign ideas and stuff like that. And it's it's never positive. It never tries to build on any solid ideas that can make society.
Why do you think that? Do you really think Glenn Beck is uninformed? Glenn Beck has a team of researchers, producers, directors,
Dude.
who have way better access to. He has way better access to information than you do. It's not about informing the people with the information. It's about trying to solicit the people. News is a business.
You're
And these
talking about
people
you're talking about a guy, dude. You're talking about a guy who literally thought the Jesus pancake was a miracle. The fuck you talking about? I mean, these people,
what is
it's a
like
shtick. I'm not
80% of
saying.
America?
Look,
What is
hold on,
80% of America? It's Christian. I'd
hold
put that out there. That'd get
on.
ratings galore.
I'm not. Look,
It's like a
I'm
YouTube
not saying.
post
I'm
that's
not
trying to
saying he
get
doesn't have
views.
resources. Chaz, relax. I'm not saying he doesn't have resources. I'm not saying that shit. I'm just saying that him, in terms of his tactics when he's on the air, are kind of ridiculous. And just to the average rational thinking human being. I mean, can we agree on that?
Yes, but most people aren't average, rational human beings. They're, most people are poorly educated, poorly informed, and they're getting brought in by these people who are coming along. I mean, we've got Britain's First. Britain's First are completely stupid. I mean, Britain's First will do things like share a picture of the Liberty Bell in a thing called Britain's First. They will share a symbol of how Britain got its ass beaten by terrorists, as a symbol of how great Britain is. It's just it's that nonsense. That you can Glenn Beck isn't an idiot. He just plays one really well on TV, and people buy it because the smart people will talk about how stupid he is, and the stupid people will talk about how smart he is. It's a win-win situation. He's not actually informing you of the news. That would be boring. He's just shouting and swearing at the camera and getting all sort of like excitable about topics that he's barely even actually touching on the real details of. Because he knows people don't want to sit there and watch the boring news, because if they did, well, they would just read a newspaper. They would go and be watching the boring news channel. He wants to watch
that's
the
the
Fox
point.
News channel, which is not boring news. It's a business. It's like the other one. What's the name?
That's the point. That's the
Whatever
point.
it is.
He's a demagogue. That's what that's his forte. But I mean that's how he actually sells his snake oil. But that being said,
Well, it's how all of them. It's just like, is it Nancy Grace, the weird old crow-looking woman on one of these news things?
Don't worry. We're talking about her.
Like,
We're talking about her tonight too. Don't worry about it. But for
now,
is
that the 2 Chainz thing?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for giving it away. Fuck. Yeah. I guess we might as well get into that now. Fuck it. Hold on. Let me get the clip up. Shit.
I've told you this before. I don't usually read anything about myself. I don't look at the tabloids or the internet.
Oh, wait. Hold on. There's something else.
But why did you advocate legalization of pot? His stories like what I'm talking about.
Well, some of the stories that I just heard you talk about, they had alcohol included, which we all know, cause you to black out for good things and have memory loss. They also dealt with irresponsible people. I don't think that you could put an umbrella on the whole community off these 2 incidents that you just named.
Well, what community is that?
The smokers, the stoners community. I just feel like you can't use these particular stories.
Okay,
Define everybody that has recreational use.
I'm not defining everybody. Okay, so don't throw me in that pot. Excuse me. What I'm saying is, legalizing pot ends up in stories like this. And you, with so many people looking up to you, advocate legalization of pot. And I don't get it. I mean, I've seen video of you smoking a big fat doobie. I mean, I've read your lyrics. I know what you say in your songs. But when you hear stories like the mom and the dad on the front porch, the baby dies in the fire.
I have 2 beautiful little girls, and I'm a great father. I just feel like, everybody should basically take care of their own. You have kids too as well, right? So it's about governing your own household. It's about taking care of your own property. It's about having some kind of structure and anything.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. But what I'm saying to you is this. People listen to you. And while you may be able to get high and your children are kept away from that and they're not growing up like that is my guess, is my hope. Other people don't have the advantages that you have. Okay, Liz, show me the video of Jessica Gamble out of Ohio. This mom, look at this 2 Chainz, this mom making her 2-year-old child smoke pot. Watch this. I want you to watch it. Look at this baby.
That's what I was telling you earlier about trying to classify her as something that we would all do once we would smoke a joint. I feel like she was irresponsible. I feel like she was a bonehead. That was an imbecile move. Anybody that loves their kids definitely knows not to put them in harm's way, and that's what she did. So I don't agree with that at all.
Okay, so all right, so that was Nancy Grace having the weed legalization debate with rapper 2 Chainz. Now, okay, notice some specific moments in there, like she says, I'm not trying to lump all the potheads together, and you know she clearly does within like the next few seconds of the discussion, you know, in that okay, everyone likes 2 Chainz because he's a famous rapper. Therefore, you know, he has a lot of influence, you know, encourages people to smoke weed. And the thing is, with recreational marijuana use, it's sort of like a subjective thing, you know, really. I mean, you know, people, if they have, like, the need for it and use for it, you know, they will use it subjectively, you know. And if they do have kids, I mean, I have kids. Well, I don't have kids, but I have nieces and nephews, all right? And I like weed. If I'm using marijuana, I'm not gonna you know bring my niece in here and say, hey, smoke a joint with me, or have them in the room while I'm smoking weed. I'm obviously gonna, you know, have them not in the room with me where they could be exposed to that, you know, because, you know, it's a recreational activity for me. I don't force it on anyone, and you know, it makes me feel good. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, impose that on anyone else if they don't want to partake, you know. And I mean, you know, the same. Also, alcohol is a more serious, you know, issue than marijuana itself, and you know, you can use the same argument for this, like I said many times on this podcast. You know, you could talk about having this stuff prohibited, but that's not gonna. It'll never stop people from actually liking it. So,
well,
you know,
I mean,
it's only a few. Hold on, Chaz. It's only a. I mean, as far as the records go, it would be better for society if it was legal. But honestly, you know, you can't. You can't. You could give the information and put it out there for people to like be aware of, but you can't take the ability to like you know, choose this stuff, you know, as human beings. But go ahead, Chaz. What you're about to say?
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, this is another example of it, yeah. So kind of like the celebrityism of the news, yeah. It's no longer about the facts. It's about the person reading the story, yeah. They are now news personalities, yeah, not news anchormen, yeah. And so it's kind of like the news is now a place where you go to be told the position that you would have had anyway, yeah. Not just to be given the information of which you can inform a position about something. It's where you go to just listen to somebody. I mean, people listen to Fox News. They already know what Fox News or what this Nancy Grace is going to say. You know, she's going to be in there like, you know, did this teenager murder his high school friends while he was high on marijuana? We just don't know. And it's all about kind of sensationalizing the news in order to get ratings, in order to entertain the audience. And you know, that's the problem with news as a business. It has to entertain in order to make business. Now she's going to be there, you know, for everybody who is like, you know, bought into this, you know, drugs are bad, okay, bullshit, misrepresentation of the pot debate, is going to. It is going to be listening, and they want to hear her say their position already.
And honestly,
she probably even maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if secretly backstage she's got a fucking doobage on the go. No, do you know how many politicians right now are in the Houses of Commons that
I wouldn't put it past them.
anti-drugs? But I
wouldn't-
know for a fact that I know for a fact, and I know who is actually smoking weed, has actually done cocaine, has actually done other drugs, and I know because I know people
wouldn't
who
put
knew
it
them.
past them. I would not put it past him. Hell, our president fucking smoked a joint, and look where he is. He's our fucking. He's in the White House. I mean, there's nothing fucking wrong with this. You know, it's you know, the potential is endless, and it could be. I mean, it could be applied almost everywhere. I mean, just because you have some people who act like, you know, jackasses with it, I mean, that you can't lump everyone else in there. I mean, that's generalization. It doesn't work. That's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
But
You don't see them then going, and this is why we should ban alcohol too, because people give alcohol to their children. Teenagers get hold of alcohol. Every argument I've ever heard from anybody as to reasons why we should ban weed, yeah, also means that tobacco, alcohol, and most medical drugs, yeah, should be banned. Oxycodone, and things like that should not be offered. And codeine and all of these, not just narcotics, but you know, painkillers and stuff like that, which are prescribed by doctors, should also be outlawed under the same idea because they're addictive, you know. And all
Jello, what do you think about all this, man?
I don't know if he's back from his sandwich getting yet.
No, I'm here. Who's the reporter? Who's that bitch?
Nancy Grace.
Nancy Grace.
All right. What channel does she report for?
HLN, I believe.
Okay. That's weird. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought she was one of those Fox motherfuckers.
Oh no. But yeah, she was arguing about like okay, because this one instant of this woman who gave her 2-year-old like I believe a doobie, I believe, you know, she was arguing with a rapper 2 Chainz about like the necessary ethics behind this. So what do you think? Like behind that, like that information?
I mean, you know, bad parents are bad parents. Like Chaz says, the same argument could be made for anything else, guns included. Like, you know, we've had plenty of kids get into their dad's drawer and accidentally blow their own brains out. I mean...
Well, there's that story recently of a 3-year-old who shot his own dad.
So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of this kind of stuff to go around, right? Like, I mean, these aren't good arguments against marijuana. The fact is, there are no good arguments against marijuana. I would suggest that nobody ever go on any show to debate these Riris, ever. Just don't give them the time of day, because it doesn't matter what their polls say, what they say. We're legalizing everywhere. It's happening, and you can't stop this fucking snowball.
Well, I mean, it's like the funny thing is that you hear these people talk. You'd think that marijuana has never been legal. It was legal up until less than 100 years ago. It became illegal only about 100 years ago. Before that, I mean, like back in the First World War, you could send care packages of cannabis and heroin and stuff to your partner or your friend serving in the trenches. You know, people were smoking dope. You know, I mean, Shakespeare, they found traces of cannabis residue in Shakespeare's pipe, for God's sake.
That is cool. All right. Yeah. That being said, we're moving on. Okay. What else we got? All right. We don't have an actual clip of this, but we do have like a story about this. Okay. What's this guy's name? Okay, Dave Ajima. Okay. Dave Ajima, the state's Republican National Committee, committee man, posted an article December 31st on his social media account that was purportedly written by a defense attorney who claimed that in his professional experience, black people are inherently dangerous and unreasonable. Okay. Most blacks are unable to
Holy
speak English
shit.
well. Shit. Damn, I guess I should change my major then. Wrote Michael Smith, published by American Renaissance. They cannot conjugate verbs. They have a poor grasp of verb tenses. They have a limited vocabulary. They cannot speak without swearing. That's fucking ridiculous. They often become hostile on the stand. Many, when they testify, show a complete lack of empathy and are unable to conceal a morality based on the satisfaction of immediate base needs. Okay. Ajima has since deleted his post, but he explained this week that he initially saw the post shared by Republican former Representative Alan West, who he noted is himself black, and agreed with the former lawmaker's conclusions. It's sad that political correctness has so taken over our society and is determined by those who desire to move according to their agenda, Ajima said. Political correctness is dangerous and prevents freedom of speech. Without freedom of speech from men of courage like Colonel West, we will lose our freedom and our culture. West described the piece in his headline as quite possibly the most racist article you will ever read, but he goes on to characterize it as a factual, true, and profound, deeply disturbing reflection on Great Society programs. I'm quite sure the yeah, this is gonna be the last thing I'm gonna say because this makes me physically sick to my fucking stomach. I'm quite sure the progressive socialist left will criticize me for sharing this article. That's just who they are. They hate the truth, West said, but if there's a war to be fought, it is for the soul of the inner city and the black community. Okay. Now I'm just gonna stop this because it annoys the hell out of me, this sophistry. Okay, first of all, this guy Ajima has apparently no fucking clue that everything he said, everything that he just claimed makes him an ignorant fucking bigot in the sense that, okay, so I don't like this group of people because I view them as uneducated, I view them as lacking morality, I view them as belligerent, typical concepts that would, that naturally embody a very far right ideology that's just focused on this whole it just focused on ignorance, really, just this sort of white privilege, just looking down the nose at minorities and people like that, and not only that, and out of nowhere, I got this black guy who agrees with me. I mean, sure, he says I'm a racist, but he knows I'm telling the truth, and it's no, you're not telling the truth. You're completely full of shit. You're an ignorant fucking human being. And you need to get an education before, stereotyping a whole group of people, because it really demonstrates that you don't belong in politics or law, because you obviously have a bias, you ignorant fucking dipshit. And I'm not cursing because, I'm uneducated. I'm cursing because your ignorance, it disgusts me on a mental level, So that's my reaction to that. But what do you guys think? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I hate this idea of it being a right versus left thing. I mean, people who think in dichotomies are generally stupid, because you can think with other things other than dichotomies. There's nuance in the world, and you begin to ignore it and try and pigeonhole things into categories that don't fit. Now, it's fair to say that certain crimes are more likely to be perpetrated by a black man than a white man, but that's not then therefore saying that because they're black that they're going to do these crimes. Yeah, well, we can use that and then go on and say, well, what is different about the black people in this area compared to the white people that could be the reason for this? Could it be to do with the amount of funding given to education programs in those areas. I mean, even though segregation was ended in America, it didn't actually end. There is still segregation. There is still sort of black neighborhoods and white neighborhoods. Yeah, you are going to, and then you find things like, you know, low income areas are then given the less support from the government. Yeah, and then which is, but may I say, more of a sort of thing that's typical to capitalism and to right-wing ideologies. And so therefore these areas get underfunded. They become the type of places that breed criminal activity, because people aren't being given any other option but essentially to turn to crime. And then they go, see, look, it's going on here. No, yes, you might be able to find that more crimes were committed by a black person. But the problem is, A, you have to try and alleviate the possibility that police are only targeting blacks in that crime, and you also then have to try and eliminate all the other variables that affect it before you can just say this is a pure instance of race. So it's not racist to say X crime is more likely to be committed by this group of people. If you're then going on to say, and the reason is because this group of people are more likely to fall into this type of situation, this type of problem. That's the difference between a fair statement and a nonsensical statement. Unfortunately, these people are just too busy with these nonsensical statements to really sort of like pull their head out their ass and really see what's going on.
Joe, what do you think, man?
It's crazy. It's almost like it's not even racism, but like complete xenophobia. In that, like, it seems to me like he can't even know what he's talking about. Like, if you make a horrible blanket statement, like all white people are violent or all men are violent, whatever. If you make a horrible blanket statement, it definitely shows some sort of bigotry. But that many bigoted statements in a row, like I could see maybe a stand-up comic trying to do something like that, trying to show some kind of crazy sense of irony, right? But everything he said was just so wrong. You know, I mean, it's just, yeah, I wonder if this guy's ever met a black person. I mean, a real black person, not a rich person. You know,
Personally,
like, rich people aren't real people. They're just, I mean, just a real average Joe kind of guy. You know, I wonder, has he ever met this?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm amazed that this guy is even in politics. Like legitimately has like a job working in it. I mean, honestly, if you're working,
ain't gonna make it as a construction worker.
I mean,
Probably
if he's
politics, the only place he's gonna get along.
I mean, honestly, I mean, if you're involved in law and you think like this guy, you should not be anywhere near the fucking law books, because you could make, you obviously don't, you obviously have a private fucking prejudice. You don't care about what the publicly verifiable evidence says. You don't, you care to dehumanize people just based on your own ignorance. So, I mean, you obviously, everything you do potentially poses problems for people who just want to live their lives as law-abiding citizens, because you want to demonize them as people that, as you know, things that they're not. I mean, sure that there might be a few people, but like I said, that's subjective. It depends on what the actual facts say. But you know, it's
it can't be all his fault though. Like, I mean, isn't there someone around to, like, you know?
Well, I mean,
don't you have to have some kind of a license to practice law or something?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
If you're an alcoholic and they, like, you know, give you a new liver, well, they won't do it if you're an alcoholic. You know, if you're still drinking, they won't. Like, there's no way he should be able to be in any sort of a position of power.
Well, I don't know. I mean, when your parents are cousins, I mean, it's hard, to get anywhere in life.
It's important that there's someone doing some kind of oversight. Isn't there someone to read this and go, oh, wait, that guy needs help? Perhaps a straitjacket, maybe medication, but certainly not a position of power.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. But yeah, he's bad shit. But yeah, we're moving on from this. Okay. All right, we're moving on to the next story. Let's see. What do we have? Okay, this is fun. Okay. Why porn is exploding in the Middle East. Data reveals 6 of the top 8 porn-searching countries are Muslim states. It's not as surprising as it sounds. Kerry Wiseman actually writes for Salon. Okay. Okay, the world is a big place, and cultural gaps are vast. But there are a few things that connect people across borders. Some people argue food. It is the best glue, while others say it's education, but there's a new contestant. Online porn. Porn is being made and watched in the Middle East, and millions more are watching it around the planet. In fact, some of the world's top porn consumers come out of the Middle East. According to data released by Google, 6 of the top 8 porn-searching countries are Muslim states. Pakistan tops the list at number 1, followed by Egypt at number 2. Iran, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey come in at numbers 4, 5, 7, and 8 respectively. Pakistan leads the way in porn searches for animals like pigs, donkeys, dogs, cats, and snakes. According to research put out by PornMD, the terms creamy squirt and blowjob and even Kendra Wilkinson, Hugh Hefner's former girlfriend, appear on the top 10 most searched terms coming out of countries like Iraq, Syria, and Iran. The word Arab is the number 1 searched porn term in Egypt, Iran, and Syria. Some get a little creepier. Pain lands at Iraq's 4th most searched term, while father, daughter, and brother, sister come in at numbers 4 and 5 for Syria. Both the words mother and mom appear on Egypt's top 10 list. The specifics are representative of a broader range taking place in a society, all but defined by extreme moral standards. The fact that porn trends within the region can even be tracked is impressive, given that the sale of erotic material is banned in nearly every Arab country except Lebanon and Turkey. In 2009, Iraq's government moved ahead with new censorship laws prohibiting material deemed harmful to the public. Tahir Nasir al-Hamoud, the country's cultural minister, claimed our constitution respects freedom of thought and freedom of expression, but that should come with respect for society as a whole and for moral behavior. Yada yada. Anyway, that's interesting. That is completely interesting. Like the top porn consumers in the world in terms of countries are Islamic states, and it's actually not surprising when you have particular societies that are based on theocracies, and they're denied the expressions of the flesh, like have people sexually repressed and stuff like that. I mean, it's not surprising that they'll come up with the most mind-numbing fetishes online and actually go out and look for that type of stuff. It's not surprising at all, especially and I don't want to get into this, but the whole incest concept, that's kind of been a fetish in the Middle East for a good few thousand years, on and off, especially in Saudi Arabia, genetic studies say. But when you do this and stuff like that, it could get problematic, especially with the belief that if you believe, you have this religion, right, Islam, okay, you have rival tribes attacking it, right, you basically promise the youngest male followers of that faith that if they fight hard, for Islam and die, you'll get wives in heaven. So it's really not surprising, but you just can't have them on Earth. So it's not surprising that the imagination will run wild in the minds of these fundies. But what do you guys thoughts? I'm curious.
Do you want to go first, Jello?
Is pig porn haram or halal?
Well, I mean, on both counts, it would be haram. It would be forbidden.
Yeah, that's what I would think. I would think that's very haram.
Basically, yeah. You can't eat the bacon out apparently.
You're not allowed to touch a pig because they're unclean.
But watching people slam some ham is fine, right?
See, I mean, this is the problem. I mean, somebody once said something to me which I found was quite interesting. When it came to fetishes, they said that a lot of the times we see things like when they banned smoking in places in America back in like the 90s, there was this huge sudden surge for porn featuring women smoking cigars. And what this person said to me is that it would make sense that because a lot in the West and in countries sort of that come from a sort of like an Abrahamic religion background, because we teach something that sex is something dirty or wrong or shouldn't be done, we then give people the idea that sex is that anything that's wrong or shouldn't be done is then sexy. It's an easy way to lead to a fetish is through a taboo. And so, I mean, it's like you said, it's totally understandable that in these Muslim countries where they're told they're not allowed to look at porn, and even worse, I mean, these are countries where they're not just going out and having sex, because in Islamic countries you've got to go and you see a girl you like and you want to have sex with her. Well, you have to go and talk to your dad first, and then your dad has to go and talk to that girl's dad, and then they will make a decision together, and if they agree, then you two shall be allowed to go together. So, I mean, when you start telling people they shouldn't do something, and which is what a lot of these countries do, what you're really telling them, and it's just like with children, what you're really telling them is, you should go and have a look as to why you shouldn't be doing it. I mean, when we were kids, we were all told, don't do this, don't do that, don't play with matches. Well, why shouldn't I play with matches? I want to see what's so fucking goddamn amazing about matches now. In order to know why I shouldn't be playing with them.
Hey, Alveolar, how you doing, man?
Hey, y'all, just pop in. I'm just being nosy, seeing what y'all up to.
Hey, Alveolar, Alveolar, what do you think of this? Apparently, the top porn consumers are apparently found in Islamic states. What do you think of that?
Wow.
Hey, tell them about the pig porn.
Well, that
a lot of it is interested in like Pakistan leads the way in porn searches for animals like pigs, donkeys, dogs, cats, and snakes.
Seriously?
Yeah. Like I'll put the link right near. Hold on.
Well, I caught part of the conversation where you're saying like when they try to make something against the law or forbidden or whatever, there are going to be people that are going to do it anyway. Yeah, so I can I can kind of see why that would happen. Yeah, it's like in a lot of countries in Europe where, well, Chance could probably vouch for this. Like in a lot of countries in Europe, they don't outlaw prostitution or whatever or
some countries.
What is it now?
in England, prostitution isn't legal, but it's not a crime that we actually focus resources on enforcing. I mean, if you're caught with a prostitute, it's very unlikely that you'll be arrested. You'll more be told not to do it. I mean, you need to be careful of curb crawling and things like that. But generally, I mean, if you and they'll crack down on houses. I mean, I think it's legal for a woman to sell sex out of her own house, providing she's the only one living there that is selling sex. Because I do remember there was a talk to changing the terms of the law to state that up to 4 women and a madam, so 5 women in total, could live in a house that's basically a brothel. Brothels are illegal in England, but a woman can sell sex out of her own house.
But is it like in Sweden or Norway where where porn is allowed and prostitution is allowed and a lot of things are allowed, and the crime rate is a lot less. And
well, Norway has a very low crime rate anyway, as does Sweden. I mean, Amsterdam is quite well known, obviously, because of its red light districts and things like that, and you can go and you can walk through the red light district and you'll see all the women in the windows and stuff, and like they're in like these, it's kind of like a shop front almost. There's like a doorway and a window, yeah, and you'll see the women just sort of sat in there in their bras and panties, and on the beds, and they're like stood by the window and they're jiggling about and stuff like that. A bit like those sort of like, do you know those old like free, well, not, they were like free channels. I don't know if you have them in America or anything like that. We get like these free channels like Babe Station, where you'll just get like a woman in her underwear sort of sat there holding the phone up, shaking it and stuff, and telling you to call in now and speak to one of the girls.
Oh no, the ones when they had stuff like that, the big boom they had, that was not free.
Oh yeah, no. You pay obviously to phone the number, but the channel was like a free channel.
Well, not to go on a different tangent, but I think the concept here is like with regard to we're a lot more I think for the most part we're a lot more like leaner in terms of like human sexuality within the West, as opposed to, I mean, we're not as sexually repressed as the Middle East. In the fact, I mean, and it's obvious that they're humans. They obviously have urges. It's just that, I mean, if you're not willing to reason through, like healthy ways of maintaining this, without archaic traditions and authority,
well, I
like
think porn is a healthy way.
It could get problematic. You could almost lose your freaking mind. It's almost understandable how if you're sexually repressed, you're more likely to go out and kill someone because just
it's like
I mean paging Dr. Floyd or something.
Do you know what I think they need to be careful of in the law when it comes to things like porn featuring bestiality and stuff like that? The concern shouldn't be on the people watching it. The concern more should be on the people making it, because we can say, well, bestiality, it can be seen as a form of animal cruelty, and in some cases it's very, very dangerous. I mean, there was that very famous story about the woman who, there was like a video of her being done from behind by a horse, like really hard, and she died from internal injuries.
Yeah.
Because of a horse has a very big penis and an extremely powerful set of muscles when it thrusts. It's not a pleasurable experience. In fact, very few animals have a very smooth penis like human beings do. I mean, a lot of them have things like badgers have a bone in their penis, or they have like barbs and sort of like is it ducks that have a corkscrew shaped penis? I mean, these things will have like, you don't want to have other animals' penises in you. They're not designed to go in that hole, and so you can lead yourself to a lot of injury, and especially if you're depends on what animal you upset, and animals can get violent during sex as well. So
Okay. Yeah, okay. As much as I love to hear about us speculate about bestiality, we're moving on. What the fuck? Okay, let's see. We got but speaking of which, let's talk about the guy who like speculated on it through the concept of gay sex. Rick Santorum. Okay, apparently he he's talking about communists and stuff like that. So let's get into it.
William in Chesapeake, and just two observations or a question and observation. One is an observation that if you ever read the Communist Manifesto, that a number of the things that the far left, aka the Democrat Party, and the president is pushing for and accomplishing, actually accomplishes a number of the tenets of the Communist Manifesto, including the tendency of elevation of pornography, homosexuality, gay marriage, voter fraud, open borders, and mass self-importation of illegal immigrants and things of that nature. So I think that's a huge cause for concern. It will raise a number of red flags for any politician, but doesn't seem like that's a caution that's being thrown to the wind. The other thing is, I understand that the real separation of church and state is not in the U.S. Constitution, but it is in the Constitution of the former Soviet Union. So that's where it's very comfortable with that, not at ours.
Okay, that was Rick Santorum talking about the Communist Manifesto and how apparently the Obama administration is one with that, and apparently how the separation of church and state isn't found within the Constitution, but it's found within the Communist Manifesto. Now, I think that's inherently interesting because if that's the case with communism, then I guess by definition the founding fathers were communists as well, because one of the main concepts that they actually had, when coming up with the United States of America and the Constitution and everything, was separation of church and state. Basically, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. And also, you could read the Treaty of Tripoli. This is a secular nation. It's not a theocratic nation. I mean, you have, I mean, the religious, they have freedom of religion, but also that entails freedom from religion. That entails equality, and you have a better equal playing field for democracy and human rights. So I doubt that's necessarily that equates to communists, because they tended to ignore those concepts. Just having the potential for people to live their lives through those through human rights and freedom and democracy, that's a good thing, as opposed to what the communists had, because they actually ruled in a similar way to the God of the Old Testament, in that they were brutal dictators who were viewed as gods themselves and actually wanted to make their ideology consistent throughout the whole of the land. I mean honestly, this is, and I think this is exactly what's motivating secularization, because just more of this like talk for authority, tradition, and faith and stuff like that. It's honestly what kills the potential for this country to advance, in terms of like social progress. It's just harping back for this grand old America where you got God and country. It's subjective, personal thing. We apply our reasoning skills, and that's how we can make society great. But what's your thoughts? I'm curious.
Well, we were set up as a secular nation. The people that came up with the Constitution, they knew what would happen if religion ruled over law. People's rights would start being, oppressed and put down. They didn't want to have any one religion to be above any other religion. That's the separation of church and state, and the government is not supposed to promote any religion at all. If people want to worship Allah or Jehovah or Vishnu, that's fine. But the government's supposed to stay out of this. and it gives people freedom to worship as they choose. But and I know our government is not perfect, the Constitution ain't perfect, but I think it's it's damn good what they tried to do back then when they established this. Because they knew the problems that could happen. If they didn't do it like they did.
Chaz, what you got? You let me fuck. Come on.
I mean, separation of church and state is always an important thing, because when churches are in control of the state, it means that whatever they feel is right and wrong becomes the right and wrong, and it can cause some very twisted situations to go along where people are denied their basic needs because that's not what they say that their God determines as a human need. It can lead to situations where the church starts to hinder progress. I mean, here in England, and I remember doing this as part of my schoolwork, we were posed a very interesting question by my history teacher, which was, did the Catholic Church help or hinder and this was at a Catholic school, mind you, did it help or hinder the progress of science and medicine? Because most of the universities were run by the Catholic Church, and obviously medical research was being paid for by the Catholic Church, but at the same time there was things you couldn't do, like you couldn't cut up human bodies, you couldn't do proper human anatomy, because that was against the wills of the Catholic Church. So a lot of our early medical knowledge came from cutting up apes, which aren't exactly like us. Their kidneys are in entirely different places. Ours are level, theirs are not completely symmetrical. And so, it led to a lot of problems in medicine actually properly progressing, and that's the problem. It biases people's views. Everything has to conform to this religion, not religion has to conform to reality. It's basically, this is what happens when you take religion into a government. I have some sort of fantasy idea about how the world works, yeah? So the world should work like this fantasy, otherwise it's the world that's wrong, not my fantasy. And you know what we call that type of behavior usually? We call it delusional. But because you got to respect their religious beliefs, it seemed perfectly fine to talk to yourself and have imaginary friends when you're, older than, 10.
Right, but
nonsensical.
I mean, they're free to have their belief, but we're free to call it.
They're free to have it, but they're not free to actually try and make the rest of the world conform to their reality, to their fantasy idea.
It's
perfectly okay for me to believe that there is an alien called Vaxnu, who is going to bring me 6 million alien brides, so I can taste the sexual delights of the entire universe. Yeah, if I lead a good life. Yeah, and I'll be given these in my elderly age. But in order to get there, I have to do all of these other trials and tribulations first. Yeah, it's perfectly fine for me to believe that. It's perfectly fine for me to practice that in my own sort of like personal space. Yeah, and inside my fucking head. But the second I start saying we should stop doing stem cell research or make abortion illegal because of my fantasy of how reality should be and not what reality actually is, that's where there's a problem. So believe in Vaxnu all you like. The second you try and say, well, Vaxnu said you can't do that, so you can't, you can kindly jog on because I'm not entertaining your fucking idiocy.
Right. Jello, what do you think about this, man?
Yeah, I've been doing some internet's research while you were talking here, while you all were talking. Pig porn is definitely harem.
Did you type in pig porn, haram? I don't want to be your internet history.
Okay. Now, among guys I used to hang around with, we had a term piggy, but for other guys, but it definitely did not mean where you're going.
Was that because they were squealers?
No, it was more of a kinky thing.
Oh, was they the porkers? Were you? Is that a whole chubby chaser thing?
But anyway.
No. Guys, I got one. I want to hear you squeal. Whee! Oh God! I mean, that
sounds more like you've gone down the world's greatest water slide than you've just been raped in the arse.
I mean, like you couldn't take it serious. I mean, I know the scene was terrible, but it was funny. I couldn't keep a straight face because he made that fucking sound. I'm all like, then the hillbilly laughs all retarded. I'm all like, oh Jesus Christ!
Honestly, the most horrific thing in that movie is the compound fracture. Right? Yeah, right? I know, Heavy. I know, I saw that and I felt the same way, man. It's horrible. Like, there's some horrible stuff in that, but the compound fracture, that's the one that does it for me. That's what makes me not want to watch that movie anymore.
Did y'all hear the thing about Duke University? Where they have like a bell tower for a church, and they were thinking about having ringing a bell for the Muslim students to do their thing.
Like what, to pray?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing a Brian Fisher story about that, where apparently they were having sounds in the background, but anyway, yeah, they're apparently having like this prayer thing, but apparently I remember Brian Fisher was mentioning that that's like inviting demons to like the school and stuff like that, like the abyss of demons. I'm all like, dude, that's like, it's freedom of religion once again. I mean, you can't talk about having religious liberty for your own religion and not including anyone else. It's like fucking, that's tyrannical. That's a direct violation of the separation of church and state. Just because you don't agree with that particular faith, that doesn't mean that you get to have all the freedom for yourself. That's ridiculous. It's unfair.
This is the thing where they're not.
Well, I think that's a caveat you have to throw in.
No. One at a time. Heavy Oliver was talking first.
Oh no, I was just going to say, they're not separating church from state here. Even though the religion is not Christianity, it's like an official thing that the school is condoning for a certain religion, if that makes sense. And a lot of people raise Cain about it. I haven't read.
See, the thing is, you first of all have to. You can say, I mean, the problem is, separation of church and state. I mean, the only time you can really have a problem with anything being made. I mean, there's nothing wrong with ringing a bell for Muslims to pray in a university, and it certainly can't bring separation of church and state if it's not a state-funded business. If it's a university paid for out of taxpayers' money, then yes, it either has to offer the same rights to any religion. So if, for instance, it's state-owned land and somebody wants to put a nativity scene up, well, then Muslims can put up whatever sign they want at the, in the town square, as can the Satanists, as can the atheists, as can anybody else. If it's something that's private and not paid for by the state, then they can do what they like. So if it's like, for instance, on the grounds of a church, they can put whatever they like there. They can build whatever monuments and idols and stuff like that they like, even though it does go against what they're preaching. But, I mean, that's up to them to square away with themselves. So I don't think there's anything essentially wrong with this, and it could be the thing that could help, promote greater understanding between the community of Islam and the communities, of Christians in that university. If this is something that they're all sort of being involved with together.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with people, with them having prayer. I think the Muslim thing is where they lay out mats and they face Mecca and they kneel on them and they do their prayers. There's nothing wrong with that. But it was something like, my impression of it was like the university was kind of, oh shoot, I know,
like promoting Islam only or something like that.
Yeah, kind of, because they'd be ringing the bell, or someone would be up there calling out the time for prayer or something. I haven't read the whole article and all, but that was kind of, it was kind of like it was kind of a borderline thing.
Yeah. Like the whole thing, and it's just as Chaz said, as long as it's inclusive, like including all groups, and you're not just singling it out for, oh yeah, this is about Islam, or this is about Christianity, or this is about atheism. I mean, if you don't include, you gotta include all the groups, so at that level, there's an equal playing field. Otherwise, and if it's just going to be it's going to be one thing, then you get rid of it altogether. That way, I mean, it's either inclusive or we're not even going to talk about this.
It was like when prayer was not allowed in school anymore. Well, it wasn't exactly that prayer is not allowed in school. It's that the school itself does not initiate prayer. You go into your first period class and the teacher says, okay, students, we're going to pray now. They don't do that. They can't do that anymore. But students are allowed to pray, anywhere on school, even in lunch. They could be getting ready to eat their lunch and they can bow their head and pray, There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not something that is, it's not like, it's
not, there's no favoritism. There's no favoritism.
I'm saying this badly. I hope you understand what I'm saying, or trying to.
No, I understand where you're coming from. There's no favoritism amongst religion, because that would be a direct violation of the Constitution.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I would really hope that if some kid decided to pray before lunch, or whenever, and some kids started bullying him or picking on him, I would really hope that those kids would get, in serious trouble.
Yeah, because that would be wrong for them.
That would be very wrong. I think trying to tell people no religion is every bit as bad as trying to tell people which religion.
Yeah.
Reals. Like, I don't have to respect your beliefs, contrary to popular belief, and I don't have to like you. Right? I just can't force things on you. My liking you and my stepping on your toes are totally different.
Yeah, we respect the rights of religious people, like their human rights to believe in religion, and have their faith and stuff like that. But we just happen to disagree with the idea, and that's fair. I mean, it's a free world, of course, free country. But that being said, we're gonna move on. Okay, now Ellen DeGeneres apparently responds to this anti-gay pastor. Well, let's just check out her response. Let's see.
I've told you this before. I don't usually read anything about myself. I don't look at the tabloids or the internet unless it's about me being pregnant and then how it's what I know. You got to find out. But I heard there was an article written about me, and I would like to address it right now. It's a pastor who wrote an article for the Christian Post where he accuses Hollywood of having a gay agenda, and said that Ellen DeGeneres celebrates her lesbianism and marriage in between appearances of guests like Taylor Swift to attract young girls. Okay, let's just break this down. First of all, I'm not married. I'm married. That's all. And Larry, I don't even know what it means to celebrate my lesbianism. I mean, well, I guess I do. It's like that. So in the article, the pastor criticizes a lot of TV shows for promoting gay agendas. He says that Glee has over 5 characters. Modern Family had a gay wedding. Anderson Cooper boasts about his homosexuality. If you ask me, Larry's watching a lot of gay TV. The solution is for parents to encourage their kids to watch classic TV shows like Little House on the Prairie and I Love Lucy. It's not like I Love Lucy is a great example for kids. She's shoving all that chocolate in her mouth. That's not good for kids. And then I did some research. If you don't think Lucy and Ethel had something going on, explain this picture right here. What's going on? I mean, that's not gay. That's all us gays do is we get a garbage can lid. Larry, the only way I'm trying to influence people is to be more kind and compassionate with one another. That is the message that I'm sending out. I don't have an agenda. I'm not here to brainwash anyone, but listen to the sound of my voice. Attention, youth of the world. I want you to live your lives being exactly who you are. Be true to yourself. The most important thing is to be true to yourself. The second most important thing is that you wear Ellen underwear and only Ellen underwear.
So I just love the response to just the satire of that. You know, it's not even taking it seriously and just, you know, it and you know, making it into something fun. You know, just I mean it. I really feel like, honestly, that this whole like this whole gay agenda thing is really ridiculous. It's just a matter of like an older generation responding to something that's new and different, and really, you know, that's the best way like to deal with it, is basically just troll it, just humor it. It's just like it's honestly, you know, because it's honestly silly, you know, the idea of like these gays, they're ruining our nation, you know, with their gay sex and their indoctrination of the gayness of the gay lifestyle in our children. They'll be sucking dick left and right, and I'm against men's kissing men's for any reason, and maybe against women kissing women if they got short hair, you know. And it's like the whole concept is ridiculous.
Hey, that's too far. Women kissing women is okay.
Well, unless they're lipstick lesbians. But I mean, you know, I mean, that's the concept. I mean, all of this. I mean, it's really over. Like, there's no real gay agenda. It's just I mean, the only thing you've honestly lost in terms of this country is like well, I mean, you haven't really lost anything. I mean, something has already been granted to someone else that doesn't really affect you. But you know, what do you guys think? I'm curious.
Well, I've been having a lot of hate here, and I would just like to ask all of the homosexuals if they could just stop having sex for a while, because, you know, it's every day it's rained so far. I mean, come on. You know, because we all know, we've been told by very clever Christians that gay people having sex brings rain, which is why in Greece they have such lovely weather, considering in ancient Greece all they used to do was read and bum each other.
Right. Heavy, what do you think, man?
Well, I hear this stuff from people about gay agenda. The way I look at it, there is no gay agenda. Gays just want to be treated like everybody else and have rights like other people do. You know, that's the bottom line, is to be on an equal footing with other people and have the same rights. Be able to marry if you want to, or to adopt children if you want to.
That sounds like an agenda to me.
No.
How dare you? How dare you demand for equality? You damn commie.
And they talk about, you know, we're trying to, or gays are trying to, indoctrinate people to be gay. There's no indoctrination there. You're either gay or you ain't. You know, that's it. You know, and if it's like people think it's a choice, and it's not really a choice. It's like, when did you decide to be straight? You know, when you choose to be straight. You know, apparently you tried both of them. So, oh no, I'm gonna go with straight. You know, or I'm gonna go with gay. It's just it's the way people are. You know, that's pretty much the way I look at it. So, the gay rights thing, the gay marriage thing, I think it's pretty cool. You know, I'm really glad that things like that have swung around. You know. And there's
to be honest, I don't think they should have legalized gay marriage. I think they should have. I don't think they should have legalized gay marriage. I think they should have just taken marriage away from the government. It's nothing to do. It's kind of like, if the government it has a right to say what is and isn't marriage, it's then not showing a separation of church and state, because then it is making rules with respect to an established religion. Because in some ways, it is trying to determine what can and can't be considered as legally married. Now, here the debate was slightly different than in America. A lot of it had to centre around not the right to be married so much, because they had pretty much all of the legal rights that they could get through civil partnerships. But the problem, it wasn't about the use of the word. It was because they weren't getting married in churches. They were making contracts of marriage with the government, which comes with heavy amounts of stuff to get divorced. You have to pay fines to the government for your divorce to annul that contract. Whereas when you make an agreement with the church, it's generally free to get divorced when you're married, because your contract is with God and not the state. So the state can't charge you for something that they're not involved in. But I think what they should have just gone is gone, fuck it, we're not even going to consider marriage as anything to do with anybody's legal rights and entitlements. I mean, this isn't fucking Israel circa 100 BC, and this isn't Britain circa the 12th century. We've moved on now. It's not a necessary thing. If you want to get married, great. Trust me, it's a waste of fucking money. Yeah, it's at best it's a party. Yeah, you might as well just throw a lovely party for you and all your friends, have a DJ, and then walk around with a set of wedding rings and legally change your name to, whatever you want it to be. Make up a new last name, and change it to that. Do whatever the fuck you please. I mean, it's when we start enforcing a rule of this is what counts as marriage and this doesn't. It's just nonsense. Fucking
honestly,
ridiculous.
Joe, what do you think about all this, man? Jello.
I think that was a funny bit. Ellen's gotten even funnier over the years. A lot of comedians get older and they kind of lose their edge. And I dare say she's more edgy now. Of course, being out helps, right? When she first started, she was, like closeted and stuff, right? Like as close as to closeted as Ellen could be, right? She. But let me see.
Gays are entertaining as hell, almost like just as entertaining as straight people are.
What?
No, I'm talking about like in terms of like being awesome comedians. That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you.
Gays make awesome comedians? That's not what I said. They can. But no, Ellen's really funny. And she's right. And I like making jokes, respectfully speaking, of serious topics, to remind people that we're just people. And I think maybe not taking all this stuff quite so seriously might be part of the big part of the help, the thing that fixes things.
Yeah.
If maybe with the people that are so concerned about what goes on in other people's bedrooms, maybe those are the first people that need to take things a little bit less seriously. I think things would be a little bit better.
I was going to add one little thing before we go to something else. When Chaz was talking, he mentioned about civil partnerships or something like that. What was the word again?
Yeah, civil partnerships. Yeah.
Yeah. That works too for gay couples as well. They have a civil partnership, and they can still set things up legally to help each other, for each other to take care of each other. And I got to thinking, like the gay marriage thing. It's good that is an option. And then a lot of people that are gay, whether they're men or women, would probably opt for the civil partnership or whatever, something like that. If it works for them, great. Or if the marriage thing works, great. But it's good. I think it's good to have a choice, of different options.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, as I was saying, the civil partnership did give them, like, you essentially got married. Here we call it a registry office. I think you get married in the courthouse there, which is the closest sort of thing of reference I can give you. But yeah, the idea is that the government is essentially marrying you. They're the ones that come along and go, you know, here's your little bit of paper to say that you're wed, in brackets, that you know, so you are essentially entitled to all of the same benefits under the law that any other person would get with a similar sort of arrangement. But it wasn't exactly the same in terms of things that come after it. Like, for instance, gay people, when they wanted to get divorced, had to pay through the wazoo for that, which, you know, wasn't a great situation, because that didn't make it fair. But I think rather than just going, well, gays then have the right to also get married, well, I'm surprised the Catholic Church didn't already get there. I mean, gays have a lot of money, and you know, I don't ever know the Catholic Church to want to turn down a pretty penny. I'm surprised they weren't already on that, you know.
Yeah, well, they were having issues with condoms for a long while, but you know, I mean, you know, things are changing up, and we are living in interesting times, and it's really dynamic. But that's all the time we have. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Wolf's Den Radio Show. Well, tune in next week. We'll have more stories, interesting to strike you all and interest you. All right, this has been the Wolf Den Radio Show with Wolf King, Chazwell Almighty, and the rest of them. We're out. Later.
Bye-bye.